All right. Well, welcome, Vaqueros. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation. My name is Jack Caulfield. I'm the Internship Program Manager with the Career Center, and I couldn't be more excited to have all of you join us for this special event. Today's presentation is co-hosted by ENACTUS in partnership with the Robert C. Vackar College of Business and Entrepreneurship. Now, this event is being recorded for later viewing. I ask that each of you mute your mics to allow for clear listening. I will be opening the floor to our audience to engage in questions towards the end of our presentation. However, you may also submit your questions in the chat and we will address them later during the Q&A portion. Now, I am going to send in an attendance link that will be shared for check-in at the start and during the presentation. I do ask that each of you check in for today's event. I know some of you are joining us here as part of a student organization or as part of a class requirement. So this will be necessary for you to get that attendance. And before we begin, I do want to hand it over to our co-host and specifically the president of the org, Isaac Salas, who is going to share a little bit of information with you about ENACTUS. All right, Isaac, it's all you.
All right, thank you. I'm just gonna start sharing my screen for
Sure.
little thing. All right, guys. Hello, my name is Isaac. I am the current president of ENACTUS, and today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about ENACTUS. So, again, we are ENACTUS. We are a business-oriented student org based here in the College of Business, and we base our projects off the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. Our values are sustainability, empowerment, and most importantly, entrepreneurship. And we like to show our values throughout different projects throughout the year. So as you can see here in the top right, we have one of our projects that's called Cans Giving. This project started back in 2015 by feeding 25 full turkey meals to individuals that couldn't provide meals during Thanksgiving. But every year we have been able to scale it up. And as of this last year, we were able to feed 1,600 families across the entire RGV. So that's one of our projects. We have others such as financial literacy, where it started with the Consulado of Mexico, to basically educate individuals that are coming into the United States, basic finances, such as mortgaging a home, avoiding fraud, and personal statements like banking and things like that. But we've transformed this curriculum to introduce it into the college or here at UTRGV because we kind of realized that it's not taught in school. So it's some information that just needs to be spread throughout the college and that, yeah. In the bottom left, we have Nutrisol. It's basically a project that we realized that here in the Valley specifically, we have a really high obesity and diabetes rate in the entire nation. So we want to create a cultural shift in educating people that there are healthy options and alternatives here at UTRGV. So last year we actually had like a little cook-off where a lot of the ingredients were provided by the food pantry, and just being able to show students and people in the UTRGV area that there are healthy alternatives found here. And one of our other projects is actually SOAR. So SOAR deals with autistic individuals. We partnered up with Workforce Solutions to basically, sorry, just a lot of talking, but it's, we have a cohort of 40 autistic individuals where we develop them professionally and we teach them soft skills and business skills that they need to advance in further in life. So throughout the curriculum, we meet with them once a month and we teach them these skills, and we also take them to little fun field trips to teach them about sustainability and other things of that nature. We actually went to the HEV solar farm, and we went to the Valley Nature Center, and we went to Turtles Inc. Here at South Padre Island. We were able to show them things like sustainability, and it's just a great opportunity to basically engage with a very underrepresented demographic. And at the end of this entire thing, they do get internships, which is a great thing. And basically what we do with all of our projects at ENACTUS is that we do compete at the end of the year. So we compile all of our projects and we go present them at nationals, because ENACTUS is a global organization. But here in ENACTUS USA, we do have a competition at the end of the year. So we actually went last year, we went to New York, that's where the competition was. And we were able to present we were able to compete in two different competitions. One is the World Cup and the early stage. In the early stage, we were actually able to get second in the nation. And in the World Cup, we did qualify for the World Cup. So that was a really great experience. And again, like ENACTUS is a global organization, it's bigger than the chapter here. So being able to go and see all the other chapters at the end of the year, which was a really great experience. And it's open for any member to join, or anyone. It's not just in the College of Business, but it's also anyone at UTRGV. So yeah, if anything that I talked about catches your interest, there is a QR code on the screen. You can just scan it and just be able to join our group chat. And again, like the skills that you get from these projects, they can be directly applied to future internships. It's just a lot of great skills that you get to build on from the projects that you work on here at ENACTUS.
Wonderful, Isaac. Thank you for sharing all of that wonderful information. And I have to highlight, ENACTUS is a very proactive student organization within the College of Business. So for those that are joining us and are under that college, please connect with Isaac and ask all the questions. I will say many employers do look highly at students who are joining student organizations. And of course, they show those leadership skills and abilities. So connect with Isaac if you have more questions on ENACTUS. Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share.
All right, so now I would like to acknowledge and thank Andres joining us from HACU. And for those of you that are not familiar, HACU stands for the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, and they are a nonprofit organization whose mission is to promote Hispanic student success in higher education. They are also a very driven organization dedicated to providing equitable access to professional opportunities, and they work with employers in the public and private sector and educational institutions throughout the country. We're just one of the lucky institutions that they get to work for. And today, Andres will share with you information on HACU's National Internship Program and the benefits of pursuing this valuable opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you, Andres. Welcome.
Sorry about that. I got a little lost switching through my different slides.
No
Hi.
worries.
Just like Jack said, my name is Andres Burgos, and I'm with the Hispanic Association College Universities. And I'm going to quickly share my screen. A nice little presentation for y'all. So like I said, my name is Andres. I'm with the Hispanic Association College Universities, specifically with HACU's National Internship Program. So of course, keyword really quick, just want to mention before anyone clocks out, zones out, our internship program is open to all ethnicities and nationalities. You do not have to be Hispanic to be part of this program or to apply to our program. Before you clock out and think this isn't a program for you, well, it is. So just a really quick background on just in general about HACU's National Internship Program, also known as HNIP. It's a 30-year-old program, and it started around the same time when the US federal government started recognizing Hispanic serving institutions. They decided, hey, you know, our federal government's a little bit homogenous. We need some diversity. We need some students from different backgrounds from all over the nation. And HACU seems to be well-versed in supporting Hispanic serving institutions, which is when they created our program specifically to help students get paid federal internships. So keyword right there is every single internship position that we have is paid with federal agencies. So on the screen, you probably see 4 of those right there: NSF, CDC, SEC, and USDA. Some of those you might not know. I know I didn't know like three out of the 4 of them prior to when I joined this job. The CDC is obviously a really big one. During the pandemic, you heard all the efforts they were doing. So definitely, you know, that one. And the other ones, they're kind of not as well known, but they do significant work in the federal government. And just a heads up, these are just 4 out of 15 different agencies that we're partnered with. And these are just main agencies. Within these agencies, we are partnered with different sub-agencies as well. And I can go into more details about that in just a bit. I just want to go over programmatic things. First thing first, once more, every single position we have is a paid internship. Undergraduate students get paid $16.10 an hour, while graduate students get paid $17.50. So keywords right there. Once more, undergraduate and graduate students are eligible to apply to our program. So we do have different sessions throughout the year. You know, you're students, you're busy, you got multiple things going on. Maybe you already have other internships planned for the year, or maybe you think your class load for the following semester is going to be very, very heavy. It's completely fine. We have multiple sessions. Our fall and spring sessions are 15 weeks long, while our summer session is 10 weeks long. Another really big thing about our session is that we do have students that can continue on for multiple sessions. So once again, if you're having a great time during your internship, you're doing amazing work, your mentor absolutely loves you, HACU absolutely adores you as well, you're eligible to continue your internship with them for multiple sessions. So we do have students that started off in our program sophomore year, and they're still in our program in their masters. So these are students that continue on with our program for many, many years. One, because once again, very difficult to get paid internships in the federal workspace. And then two is because we really do try to support you in and outside of your internship. We want to make sure that you feel safe. We want to make sure you feel comfortable in this professional workspace any way as possible. Right there, you also see we offer virtual, hybrid, and in person. That's huge. A virtual internship in the federal workspace wasn't a thing a few years ago, but they realized, hey, we're able to give these opportunities to students from all across the country, and they don't have to be burdened with having to stop their classes and move to Washington, D.C. to do an in-person internship. We do still offer those though. So maybe you're like, oh, I really do want to go travel to DC to do an internship. I want to have that in-person networking. I want to experience another part of the country, get a different, maybe even a culture shock, just learn about different aspects of the United States. That's great. If you get an in-person full-time internship that's going to be based in Washington, DC, HACU actually pays for your flight to Washington, DC. And once you're done with your internship, we also pay for your flight back home. And we also help you get subsidized housing in Washington, DC. I currently live in Washington, DC, and housing is extremely expensive. It is not affordable in any way. So we try to help make sure that you're not worried about, oh, I have to pay my housing bill while I'm doing an internship in a different location that I'm normally not from. Don't worry, we help you, we got you covered. You don't have to worry about that. As long as you get that full-time in-person internship in DC, we help you with that. But once again, maybe you don't have the opportunity or the luxury to just leave your state whenever you want. That's great. We offer those virtual positions as well. Maybe you're also, I don't have enough time. I'm a busy class schedule. I need to complete all my credits on time. I want to graduate on time. Perfect. We offer full-time and part-time positions. Once again, maybe you're thinking, oh, I really need a full-time position though, because I got bills to pay. I got to pay for my housing. I got to pay for my meals. I got to pay for my textbooks. No worries. Some of our positions are actually full-time asynchronous. So what does that mean? It means that you're able to complete 40 hours a week as long as you complete your projects on time. That's great, because sometimes you have a busy class schedule all day long, and maybe you're only able to work at night. I know I was a busy student that tried to keep all my classes early in the morning, and I couldn't really keep just, hey, tell a job, hey, I can only work from 3 to 9 p.m. In a professional setting. They're like, our offices aren't open during that time. Well, that's great, because we offer those asynchronous positions for you. Once again, very rare with any other program. We also offer numerous program benefits. So a lot of the times, if you come to DC, you're doing your in-person internship, you get to meet others and hire in different positions. So a few days ago, President Bailey actually came into our office and met students from different university campuses. And now those university students have that network opportunity to speak with President Bailey. They also had the opportunity to speak with those in the Department of Education, Department of Treasury, as well as just in general, just getting a better understanding of the federal workspace with even different agencies in general that they normally aren't interning with. So the opportunity to network with all these other staff members from different departments is an opportunity that a lot of students wouldn't get with other federal internships, because a lot of federal partners truly enjoy us. They know that we are always championing for Hispanic serving institutions, and we're always getting them involved with students that want to do something with their education. Another also amazing benefit from our program is that we offer professional development seminars. I don't know if any of you who are about to graduate have been looking at USA Jobs, which is the database to submit federal resumes. You'll quickly learn that federal resumes don't not make any sense at all. They're not like normal resumes. So what we do is that we get people who work for USA jobs, and they come and speak with our students on how to create their federal resumes. That's an exclusive meeting that they tell us we can't even record it because they don't want that information getting out. And that's something that we offer to our students. We also have other benefits, such as having employees from the Fulbright program come, Peace Corps. We get people who come and speak and talk about public speaking, public image. So we try to ensure that you have the tools necessary, not only to succeed during your internship, but outside of your internship. And then really quick, I'm going to show you a quick video. This man on the screen is named John Sanders. He is an employee at the SEC, specifically a diversity and inclusion officer at the SEC. You probably don't know what the SEC is, but he's going to explain it really quick, as well as what students can expect from an internship with HACU.
I am John Sanders. I'm the program manager for the partnership that the SEC has with HACU. We're currently in our second semester of having interns, and it has been an amazing partnership. I'm continuously impressed with the incredible support that the staff from HACU provides, but then also truly the high quality interns that I've had the pleasure of interacting with. It's been so much that I've even given myself the unofficial title of ambassador of HACU and the internship program. So on the individual level, the experience for the interns is phenomenal. At the SEC, we truly look at interns that we receive as colleagues. They're assigned truly meaningful tasks that are built to stretch their abilities, but they also contribute directly to the SEC's mission. And our mission is protecting investors, maintaining fair and efficient markets, as well as facilitating capital formation, or typically that's referred to as helping companies grow. And we expect our interns to make meaningful contributions while they're here with us. We value your opinions and your perspectives. Recently, I became aware of a story where an intern said that this experience was not at all what he expected. And he said it in a very positive way, but it was walking into it thinking that they were just going to do very simple tasks or things that, we didn't want to do at the SEC, making copies or just filing some paperwork. And, that's what he kind of thought he was getting into. And then he was thrown right into the mix of really contributing and being a key member of our team. So it was a welcome experience. We're not looking for anybody to do little basic jobs that we don't want to do. We want to encourage and help you grow.
So those are key words right there. Those last two words that he just said are probably the most important of all of the words he said. They're not looking for students to do unmeaningful tasks. They are looking for students to come in and actually make contributions to either the projects, the research, or just in general, just the functioning of the federal agency themselves. I don't know if any of you have ever spoken with any other classmates of yours that have done internships in Washington, D.C., but D.C. is basically run on interns, and usually unpaid interns. So really our government's fully functioning by college students. So definitely when they're looking for students, they're looking for students to actually make meaningful contributions. I can tell you that is a fact, specifically with the SEC. I've spoken with students that are currently interning with the SEC, and they're doing investigations on crypto scams. They're doing investigations on Elon Musk. They're doing investigations on making sure that any whistleblowers that come out for any scams in general, that they're taken care of. Other key highlights are, we have an intern that's right now currently with USAID, which does philanthropy basically with international governments for USA. They've been helping that kind of divide up the resources needed in the different locations in Ukraine due to the war effort that's happening over there, as well as we have students that during the pandemic, they were doing research on the multiple vaccines that were coming out with the CDC. So we have students that are doing meaningful stuff. And a lot of these students, obviously we do have some graduate students, but a lot of these students are undergraduate students, and they're doing this meaningful work. And a really big part of this is a lot of these students don't have any actually experience within their major. They just have the research that they either do during their classes or the projects that they do during their normal classes as well. So if right now you are interested in the program and while you're hearing it, or you're feeling a little discouraged about it, because you might feel like you don't have the resume for it, Don't worry, I'll go into more details about that in just a bit. Do not be discouraged though.
And
Just really quick, also, if you're like catching your ear and you're like, do I qualify for this program? Most of the time it's going to be yes. So once again, I cannot highlight and stress enough that there is no race or ethnicity or nationality requirement for our program. It's open to anyone. The next one is there is no major requirement as well. Federal agencies have teams, have departments, have random little sectors within themselves that are always looking for interns. So you might be a business major and you're like, okay, I probably will be working with Export-Import Bank of America, the Security Exchange Commissions, or the Office of Controller of the Currency. I might have said some agencies you don't know what they do, but trust me, they're business related. But actually, departments within the CDC are looking for business majors because they need business majors. They gotta, they're a big federal agency. They need them. Or maybe even the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and you're a business major. And then when you come there, you're like, oh yeah, this is all business related. We actually have our internship with NASA is only for business majors as of right now. And that's with the Office of the Inspector General, in which they need business majors in order to ensure that the contracts that NASA makes with third-party vendors is secure and they're not being scammed. So mostly like an auditing type of internship. So when you say, do you have any internships for engineering? Yes, we do. We have internships with USDA, US Department of Agriculture. We have internships with US Forest Services. We have internships with USAID. And these are federal agencies that you might not think that they need engineering majors, but there's always a need because there's always going to be this niche thing that they need. I can tell you, I have been asked for majors so specific, such as, do you have a student that study the history of the Balkans? And I'll be like, I don't even know where the Balkans are, but I'll find that student for you. I've also had US Fish and Wildlife ask me if I have a student that studied a specific salamander in a river in California. And it was a very small river. And I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna find this, but I'm gonna find this. And the student somehow finds me and we fill them. So if you have a very niche major, please do not feel discouraged. Then you feel like, oh, I can't apply because they're not gonna have a position for me. When I tell you we have positions for every major, we have positions for every major. So one of the other requirements is that you do currently have to be enrolled in the degree seeking program. So associates, bachelor's, master's, JD, PhD. If you're going to be graduating soon, you can still apply. So if you're going to be graduating fall 2022, you're eligible to apply all the way until summer 2023. And our summer 23 applications are currently open with our spring 2023 applications as well. So up to 2 sessions, they are currently open. So if you're looking for a full-time position, that's even better. Because if you're looking for a full-time position and you're able to travel more, you're able to pick a location that's not just currently in Texas. You can go to another location, we'll help you with those travel. So keep that open when you're applying to our program. Another really key thing is that you do have to complete at least 1 year of your undergraduate study. That is the deterrent for a lot of students when they're applying to our program, because I know there's eager freshmen that really want to apply, get started, get it running. Well, sadly, it's kind of a federal requirement for a lot of internships that you have to complete at least 1 year. So you might also be thinking, well, I'm currently a first year at my university, but I came in with enough credits to be a sophomore. Sadly, these federal agencies want to see you at least have 1 full year at a university campus, not really when it comes to academic credits. I don't know why that rule exists. I really wish it didn't exist like that, but sadly, it's just something that every program that works with federal agencies has to follow. The next one, and probably the one that a lot of students are going to be looking at and they might feel deterred as well, is that most of our positions do require US citizenship status, and that's because you need a security clearance. You're dealing with sensitive information. You want to ensure that sensitive information is kept within US bounds. Obviously, that does restrict a lot of the positions. When we say most, that's a key word right there. We're saying most. There are still around 50 positions that they do still accept students that are legally authorized to work in the United States. What does that mean? If you have a student work visa, you are eligible to apply. If you are a DACA student, you are eligible to apply as well. So just a reminder, most is the key word right here. You can still apply to our program and we still have positions for you. Once again, around 50 positions we usually get around each session that do allow students that are legally allowed to work in the United States. And that's a big one because most federal agencies, they will just outright say no. If you go to another program that works with federal agencies, they will just say no students that don't have US citizenship status. We fought for your rights. We want to make sure that you're eligible to apply to our program. So we ensure that there are some positions that you're eligible to apply to. Sorry about that. All right, next up, HNIP application. So really quick, obviously I've caught your attention if you're still paying attention to me. Thank you for paying attention to me. Our application process is fairly quick. So you don't actually have to upload a resume. It's a text box based application, which means that you're going to type in your education, you're going to type in your work history, any organizations you're affiliated with, any skills you have. So you don't have to upload your resume. You're just going to copy paste a lot of it into our application. There is an essay portion. It's pretty straightforward. It just asks, why do you want to be part of HNIP, which is HACU's National Internship Program? It's pretty straightforward. Trust me when I tell you the essay. It's mostly just in case you have any blemishes on your transcripts. I know I had a rough first year in my university studies. So if I was a student applying to this program, I would mention it there. Or maybe you don't have that great of a resume. You're like, I only have a lot of retail experience. Write that down in your essay and write down how that retail experience has helped you and support you with your work history. Maybe you just want to show off your personality. That's great. A lot of the federal agencies are looking for someone that can mesh well with their team. So show your personality in the essay. That's completely fine. A lot of things that stops a lot of students from applying to our program, though, is this next three things. And that's because you actually have to go and put a little bit of effort to find these three things and upload them. The first one is an enrollment verification. The second one is an unofficial transcript. And the last one is a letter of recommendation. An enrollment verification is something I know I never heard of prior to this job. Basically, you just go to your student registrar's office or you go to their website. Sometimes some universities have them on their website. And it's just showing verification that you currently are enrolled at the university and if you'll be enrolled for either the current semester or the following semester. It's pretty straightforward. Unofficial transcript is a key one. If you are selected for a position, we will ask for an official transcript, but just to make sure that our application is completely free and there are no extra fees for you to apply, we do allow you to upload an unofficial transcript. We want to make sure that you're not paying anything extra and that our application is as easy as possible. And the last one is a letter of recommendation. I know a lot of students, we just got back from being in the virtual space. So a lot of you might not be that close to your professors. That's okay. You might have a TA that can give you a letter of recommendation, or you might have a previous supervisor that'll be able to offer one to you as well. We understand the pandemic wasn't the best in being that communicative with professors or TAs. So we do offer you to get letter recommendations from previous supervisors. And the last one is 1 to 3 references. Keyword 1 to 3. You're more than able to just use one reference. It does not hurt your application if you just have one, but it also does not hurt if you have more than one. So feel free to put more than one if you need to, but if you only have one, it can be the same one that wrote your letter of recommendation. Most important tip on this screen and probably on this PowerPoint is this first line of the tips. Keep it generic and load it with details. What does that mean? That sounds contradictory. I'm going to tell you what it means right now. When we say keep it generic, it's because by completing this one application, we submit your application to every position that you are qualified for. So you don't technically get to select which position you're applying to, which sounds a little scary, sounds a little sketchy at first. I'll tell you, I know if I was a student, I'll be a little nervous saying like, who's gonna see my resume? Who's gonna see my application? Please do not feel scared about that. It's a good thing. Because once again, I was saying all these federal agencies, and you probably didn't know half of them that I was saying. And that's a lot of students that apply to our program. But at the end of it, they get a position with that federal agency and they absolutely love their position. Some of them even get positions that they're like, this is not fully what I want to do or aligned with my major. And then they complete it and they're like, you know what, this does align with my major. Or do they decide to switch their major because they're like, this is something that I truly enjoy and want to continue after my internship. So a lot of issues with our students when they apply early, because we are on a rolling basis, which means that whenever an application position is submitted from a federal agency to us, we try to submit applications to them immediately. So whenever you apply early, the biggest issue students have when they're applying is that they are offered too many positions and they do not know which one to select. So that's an issue that a lot of students have, which is a very good issue to have, especially when they're all paid internships. So make sure if you're thinking like you're nervous, you're like, oh, I don't know like which position I want to select. Well, you're technically not picking which position your application is getting sent to. And also when you're writing your essay portion, make sure to not mention a specific federal agency. Maybe you really want to work with the CDC and you're like, oh, my essay, I'm just gonna write CDC, CDC, CDC all over again everywhere. Maybe your application does get submitted to the CDC. They're reviewing it and they see it like, oh, this student's perfect, but we're gonna go with another student. Okay, that sucks. But the good thing is that your application is still in our database and we can submit it to other positions. So maybe we get your application, we submit it to the FDA. And they're reviewing it and they say, oh, this student's perfect. They fit everything that we need, but they really want to go with the CDC. So we're going to pass along this intern. And then you end up with no internship. So make sure you keep your application generic. And then when we say with loaded details, we mean keep it with loaded details on your work history. Once again, maybe you don't have any experience within your major. Maybe you're a math student, but have never had a position that would require you to use your math degree or your math studies. That's completely fine. Maybe you only have retail experience. That's also completely fine. I know which students get selected every session. And there are a multitude of students who get selected who have no actual experience with their major or with the position they're getting submitted to. That's fine. They're not looking for students that already know everything. They're looking for students who are trying to come in, learn, make a difference, give different opinions. Once again, they're tired of the homogenous type of students they get, the mindsets that they get. They're not looking for Yale students. They're not looking for Stanford students. They're looking for students with diverse ideas and opinions. So please do not feel discouraged when you're applying to this program and feel like, oh, maybe because I'm not from this Ivy League school, I won't get this federal internship. You're just wrong. I have seen students who come from community colleges from the middle of nowhere in like Wyoming, and they get an internship with our program. So please do not feel discouraged with that. So don't undersell yourself and brag about yourself, please. And obviously, Jack, I don't know if any resources you have on campus. If you have any resources on campus, please utilize them as much as possible.
Career Center, we got it all for you.
Yeah, please go to your Career Center and ask them for help. It never hurts to get a second opinion on things. Really quick, I want you to see our social media. Very, very important to follow our social media because we update deadlines for things. So you might see that our deadline on the previous page for, I spelled spring wrong. Sorry, I'm illiterate sometimes, I'll admit it. Spring deadline is October 31st. That's going to change, and I guarantee you it's going to change. It's going to change multiple times, and we update those deadlines on our social media pages. So please follow our social media. On our social media, you'll also see anecdotes and stories from different alumni and current interns. Obviously, you can hear me talk about the program that I work for forever, because obviously I get paid to do this. I'm not gonna lie, I get paid. I'm not doing this, to be super charitable. I love talking with students, but I get paid and you might assume I'm lying for our program. So please check out our social media and see from students firsthand that they are enjoying the program and they are benefiting from our program. Some of them are tagged on their student highlights and they are open to you to reach out to them and ask them questions. So please follow our social media. I cannot stress enough the student network and alumni that we have. They absolutely enjoy our program and they're more than happy to speak with you. As well as please write down our email address, hnip@hacu.net. Feel free to send questions over to that email address. I am more than happy to answer any questions you have that you might not think of at the end of this information session. And also please visit our website, www.hacu.net/hnip. Right there, you'll see the application page, you'll see the deadlines, you'll see the available positions, you'll see which federal agencies we're partnered with. We frequently ask questions. Maybe there's a question that you feel like I didn't answer during this info session, or a question that you just don't feel comfortable emailing me or calling me. Once again, always feel free to call me. You're able to check our website and just automatically get an answer there. But besides that, does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Andres. I know that Isaac and his team at ENACTUS has some questions for y'all, so I think he'll go ahead and share out some. There was some, your counterpart, Luis, was joining us, and he also was able to answer some of the questions in the chat. So I think we got most of those addressed. But Isaac, you want to share any questions?
I think my team has some questions ready for you guys.
Great.
Hi, Andres.
I'm
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll come over here because that's why my isn't working. But I just wanted to ask
when the deadline would be for applying to all of these programs, and when more or less would you know or hear back from these organizations?
Yeah, so our official deadline for right now for spring 2023 is October 31st. Once again, that's gonna change. I can guarantee you it's gonna change because our federal partners, as much as I love them, they do sometimes slack on giving us their positions. So they usually sporadically give it to us. I can tell you our fall session currently is going on and started on the 6th, and all the way from the 6th just to last Monday, we were still getting fall positions. So when it comes to a deadline where you're notified on the final date on if you have an internship position or not, that's a little tricky just because sometimes they send us very last minute positions and we're always more than happy to fill them. And we usually do give the students a call or an email once we submit their position, their application to a position, so that they can prepare for an interview. Because yes, sometimes they do interview you. It's just not an application sometimes. Sometimes they want to get to know you a little bit better. So they will interview you, while others just purely go based on your application and they cover your name to be as unbiased as possible. They cover your university name. They cover your where the current state that you live in, your home address, and they go purely based off your resume and your essay. So just keep a heads up when you're writing that essay, please. When I say make sure to show your personality, make sure to show your personality.
Awesome, thank you.
To kind of follow up off of that, well, in regards to the application process. So for students, I know that's a pretty robust application process. There's a lot of documents that they need to have, which you shared, but the essay portion, I've worked with students and I've done the application with them here in my office. And the essay portion, I think, is the one that really I have them take the time on. I don't do that with them specifically because it's a lot to think about. But what are some tips? And I know you say, you know, let your personality shine, but can you, I mean, I don't want to ask for tips, but, you know, if you could maybe give like one, maybe two questions of what is expected when they're filling out these types of questions.
Yeah, I can ask specifically for the essay portion. I have seen so many things on the essay portion. I have seen students do little rhymes. I have seen students blatantly just go like, yeah, this is my experience. They rehash their experience. Some people like that because every federal agency does, once we submit their applications, they do the selecting after that. So, and within that they're selecting, every team has their own team leader that selects it. So it's really hard to say give tips on the essay because there's so many people looking at your application that everyone has kind of their own little thing that they like. So when I say show your personality, sometimes the student personality is being very analytical and they're just going to lay out the resume once more, which isn't a bad thing. Because once again, I've seen students get selected when they do that. I've also seen students just talk about their home life. I've seen students talk about their experience being a first generation student. I've seen students talk about, you know, being the only woman in their program. I've seen students talk about being the only man in their program. I've seen students talk about being the youngest child and being the only one to go to university in their family. So it's a variety of things. So I think, yeah, I guess I can be more clear when I say show your personality, is that kind of just be you. Because once again, you don't know who's going to see your application. You don't know what's going to make someone happy. You don't know what's going to make someone say like, oh, I really don't want this application. It really is a numbers game when it comes to this. So the sooner you send your application, it means more people are reviewing your application, and it means you have a higher chance of getting offered not only one position, but multiple positions.
Awesome. Thank you, Andres. There's a question in the chat, and you may have mentioned this. I think I remember hearing, but are all the internships for spring? Which I know that this is not just a spring only internship. But you know, to answer this question, the internship program, the federal internship program, is year round, correct?
Yes,
Fall,
it's year
spring, and
round. Yeah, so we have fall, spring, and summer. Fall and spring are both 15 weeks long, while the summer internship is 10 weeks long. And once again, if students are, you know, they're doing a really great job at their internship, Everyone at the federal agency loves them. We're like, oh yeah, the student, they do everything on time. We have no issues with them. We can extend your internship for multiple sessions if the federal agency allows it, which is fairly common. Also, really quick, I forgot to mention as well, a lot of our federal agencies, if you're going to be graduating soon, a lot of them do look at students and they go like, hey, if they're an amazing intern, why should I retrain someone to do this position? And they just kind of transition your internship position to just a full-time position. Once again, a lot of the time, they're like, why, there is no reason to retrain someone. They're doing a great job. Why would I not hire them? So a lot of them do make that easier for students on just making their internship into a full-time position.
Awesome. I have another question for some students, because I know they trickled in late. Students that are applying to the HACU National Internship Program, they can also apply as recent graduates, but for how long? Up to 6 months, a year?
So students have to up to 3 months to apply. So
3
if a student is graduating this fall 2023, they can apply for fall 2022. I'm already thinking
ahead.
Fall 2022 can apply for spring 2023 and summer 2023 as well. Sadly, you cannot apply for fall 2023 because it's too far ahead.
Okay. And that's both the case for undergrads and graduates, correct?
Yes, that's both the case for undergrad and graduate students.
Okay, great. And I know that you addressed this earlier, but are all the internships in person, or are there some virtually, as they have lived in DC for a semester? And of course, it's not cheap there.
Yeah.
But this will be dependent on the position itself, right?
Yeah, so the position itself, usually when it's an in-person Washington, DC, and you're all the way over there in Texas, either me or one of my coworkers will give you a call and they go like, hey, there's this position that you're very qualified for, but it's in Washington, DC. Would you want us to send your application to it? So you can start expecting like, hey, maybe if I interview and I get it, there is a possibility I have to go to Washington, DC. And if you do get that full-time internship position in Washington, DC, we will help you pay for your flight to Washington, DC, as well as your flight out of Washington, DC once your internship is over. And we also help you find subsidized housing. So we do take a portion of your paycheck. A lot of students still go and have a very large chunk of their paycheck left over. We currently have a few students right now with the Library of Congress that are in Washington, DC, and they very happily go out every weekend and have fun. So you definitely have more than enough to survive. We're not taking away your entire paycheck because it's a subsidized housing. So we get a little bit of your paycheck for you, so you don't have to worry about submitting your rent on time. We do that for you. And then we take a little bit of our money organization as well to help and support you, because once again, DC is extremely expensive. I know I complain about it all the time because I live here. I really wish it was cheaper, and I really wish I was a student getting subsidized housing so I don't have to worry about my own housing.
We have a student that's asking, what's the process like after being selected? And that's kind of a question I was going to ask too. It's like, they prepare for the application process, right? But now that they're selected, what can they expect?
Yeah, so that's on the more frustrating side of things, because I'll tell you why right now. When I say frustrating, please do not let that deter you from applying. And that's because you have to start your security clearance process. Every federal agency has their own security clearance. Some of them have cool names, like the SEC has PERSEC, which has the name SEC in it. The CDC has SEC-CDC. It's a bunch of random acronyms for security clearances. And a lot of them have their own timelines. So some students, they get their internship for the summer and they're selected in March, and they don't clear their security clearance all the way until May. And that's just because some agencies, they're very strict with their information, such as, once again, I use the SEC a lot because I just like them a lot. But the SEC, since you're dealing with the stock market, they go very depth into your background. So their security clearance usually does take around 2 months. But if we're going with US Forest Services, their security clearance takes 2 days. So once again, it differs from position to position, federal agency to federal agency, but it's pretty straightforward. We try to help you as much as long in the process. We're communicative with you because, of course, I know it's not very common for people to get government issued security clearances. So it's a new process for everyone. So we sit there with you and we try to support you during that process as well. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The security clearance can get a little frustrating, but a lot of the students find it worth it because the experience they get out of this program and the experience they get out getting an internship with a federal agency it's completely worth the time.
So, I mean, of course, once they know that they're selected, it's just it's a waiting game, but of a lot of patience is necessary, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of patience.
And a lot of patience. Now, I know that some students are very proactive too, or it could be any student really that's proactive in wanting to follow up. Are they able to follow up with a contact person? Would it be like one of the student service managers through HACU, or the actual organization itself that they may be working with?
Yeah, so they can follow. The great thing about a program is that they're able to follow up with HACU and the federal agency. Because once again, the federal government, they work on their own timeline. They do not care. They work on their own timeline, and that's where we come in, HACU. We're here to work on your timeline. We're here to support you. Of course, we're partners with these federal agencies, but that's not my job. My job title is student services. So my job is to ensure that all students are having a great time during their internship and no issues arise. But we're here to vouch for you. We're here to support you. And we're here to just ensure that your experience in the federal workspace, if it's your first time, or maybe it's your second, third, fifth time, or whatever time it is for you, you're having a great internship.
Awesome. We do have another question. Do students who get accepted room together, as that would make sense to bring cost of housing down?
So yes and no. So we usually do ask you, do you want to be rooming with another student in our program? If not, we go via a third party, which is another program, student housing program in Washington, D.C. Called Wish Housing. They're extremely popular. Probably one of the best well-known student housing internship programs in Washington, D.C. Because once again, DC is run by student interns. So definitely there's a large community of student interns in Washington, D.C. And so a lot of the times, maybe you're like, hey, I see my fellow intern 24/7, either at the federal agency where I'm doing my internship at, or whenever I go to a HACU related program, I want to expand the type of students that I'm meeting. And a lot of students do that. So sometimes they house with interns from different programs, and they prefer that because they get a little break of seeing the same people over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And another question from Isaac around how many students get accepted throughout the program? I know that probably number fluctuates every year, right?
It's a fluctuating number, but I can tell you we ended currently right now the 2022 session, because fall 2022 has ended. So for the year 2022, we had about roughly almost 600 interns for all 3 sessions. Obviously, it varies from session to session. And a lot of times we do have sessions such as this fall session, we had positions that went unfilled. And we have currently around 200 interns, and we had around almost 400 positions. It's not that we didn't have any qualifying interns. It's just that we didn't have any interns that wanted to kind of stick with the program of the patience game. A lot of them get a little impatient. They're like, hey, I applied 3 months ago in the summer, and I haven't heard back in August. And we told them, don't worry, it's coming. It just takes some time sometimes. So a lot of students do, go out of their way, and they don't get we go positions that go unfilled. We do get roughly around 700 applicants per session, and we usually do get around 400 positions per session. So there is the likelihood that all positions do get filled, which has happened during the summer session.
Wonderful. Now, I've had a question come to me whenever I'm promoting out HACU, and it goes back to the title, Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, right? Yeah. And so us being a Hispanic serving institution, we're the second largest HSI in the nation. Do our students have an advantage as they apply? I mean, I know it goes back to the application process, right? But I think that's one of the questions, is because it is with Hispanic in the title, does that give them an advantage?
So yes and no. So they are obviously looking for qualified applicants, and we're the ones that submit those applicants. And I am open to my biases. I am a first generation student. I am a naturalized citizen. I was born in El Salvador. And I do have a tendency to submit students that are from Hispanic serving institutions quite more often than any other university. And that's just because we're HACU, we serve Hispanic serving institutions. So we do cater more to our HSI students. But when it comes to nationality or ethnicity, there really isn't like a scoreboard, like a plus
There's
one.
no cherry.
Yeah, there's no, yeah,
taking-
it's mostly like, hey, like this student goes to an HSI. We want to support HSIs. So we're going to submit the student a little bit more often than we probably should be doing.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Another question, if we get an internship for spring, do we have to reapply for the summer? Or in this case, are some applications, depending on when they're submitted, considered for summer if they were meant for spring?
So that's more of like a, a technical term internally with our
Okay.
data system. It's probably not going to be pertinent to a lot of you, but definitely if students are extending for multiple sessions, they do have to submit an application again. It doesn't need to be as strenuous as your original application since you already have the internship position. It just so happens that applications are tied to time cards. And once more, of course, these positions are all paid, so you do need a time card.
Wonderful. Do we have any additional questions from our students? I know I've been reading a few from the chat, but I know, Isaac, you've shared a couple, but I don't know if any of your members have any other questions. He's thinking. We still got some time, guys. Okay, I have a follow-up question. Now, we know that an internship, with all that it brings in terms of the experience in itself, one of the biggest benefits is the element of education and training, right? But also considering the professional networking that they'll get, the networking opportunities. When students are applying to these internships and get selected, you kind of stated that if it's your second time or your third time, there's multiple times that they can be participating as an undergraduate student or graduate student for the HACU program. With that, do you find that there are a lot of students, and you may have stated this earlier, that there is a possibility or an opportunity, but do many of them get hired within those organizations, the federal organizations, and then likely, the corporate sector? I mean, that's a different program, but do they get hired full time after they've graduated? Do you see a higher percentage of students getting hired?
Yeah, so we recently restarted our alumni network. Obviously, during the pandemic, it kind of stopped because everyone was so busy with their own lives. So we recently restarted it, and I'm fairly new to my job as well. I've only been here since January, so I didn't know many of the alumni as well. So I started speaking with a lot of the alumni, and we have a multitude of alumni that they were in our program like 1998 or 2001, 2015, and they came back to our alumni network and they go, "Did you know that I'm still in the same federal agency I entered with you?" And we're like, "Oh, we didn't know that. Like, why didn't you tell us?" They're like, "I just assumed you knew since I always come and I have the same agency in my name tag." I'm like, "Oh yeah, like I guess we really never really noticed that. Like we just kind of assumed you just stuck around in DC." But yeah, we still have a lot of alumni that once they finish their internship with us, the agency truly loved them and they offered them position. And another thing I could tell you, there are a few federal agencies that their goal from being partnered with HACU is to ensure to have your intern as long as possible in order to offer them a full-time position. So some of our federal partners, that is their long-time goal with HACU, because they fully admit they are not the best at getting a diverse applicant pool when it comes normal. They're open about it. They come to us and go like, "Hey, we're not that diverse. Like, how can you help us change this?" And that's why we tell them, "Yeah, we have this internship program that you can start training your intern from very early on in their educational career so that you can hire them full time." They go like, "Perfect. Whenever I get an applicant, our goal is to ensure that they get a full-time position once they complete their studies." So yeah, we do have some federal partners that do complete that. And we have a lot of federal partners that they've been speaking with those partners that are looking for students just for full-time positions when they graduate. And they're like, "How can we implement that with us?" So we have other agencies that are currently actively trying to rewrite things within their own agency to ensure, like, if an intern is with us for a certain amount of hours, they get privileges when they're applying to positions with our federal agency. And other ones are like, "Oh yes, once they complete this amount of hours, they automatically become a full-time government contractor, or they're automatically enrolled into our postgraduate fellowship." So we do have federal agencies that are actively seeing like the quality of students that we're getting and the quality of work that they're producing is so great that there is no reason to continue and just open another job position when we have all these students that are already doing an amazing job. And that's why we're here, to vouch for you, support you, and just brag about all of you that do get into our program, because we want to ensure that the positions you have can be easily transitionable to a full-time position.
Awesome. So we are almost at our time, but there is a question, a quick question, and Andres, you can just probably answer this as a yes or no. Can students in their first semester apply?
Sadly, no. You have to complete at least 2 semesters, which like, technically would be considered a full academic year.
Okay. And GPA requirements for students to apply?
Technically, no. So it varies from federal agency to federal agency. The strictest GPA requirement that a federal agency has is a 3.0. The least strict federal GPA requirement from a federal agency is a 2.0. So it really does range. So as long as you don't have less than a 2.0, I can guarantee you go ahead and apply.
Great, great. And so there is a question I think that's directed to me. There is, do interns who get accepted in spring and get to go to DC, I'm assuming like a spring or fall semester, get to go to DC, do they get some leeway from UTRGV, or how does that relationship go between our classes and the internship? I'm going to answer this in the way that I think it's being asked, in the sense if a student wants to enroll in an internship course to pursue their internship with HACU, this would be managed in the same way that it is with any internship. So you do want to apply early, get accepted into the position, and then if you are interested in enrolling in an internship course to receive academic credit, you will need to go directly to your academic department for that approval. And then of course, any support you'll get from the course instructor will be provided to you. And when I say support, this isn't like financial support. This is going to be support in your efforts to make sure that you have everything you need before you take off as part of your course. And then the course is online or through Blackboard. It's not a physical in-person class, because you're going to be doing your internship in this case in DC, or possibly virtually. So, and Andres, really quick, I know with some programs and some programs that I know of in Washington, DC, that they have their own courses. Is that something that HACU does as well?
Sadly, no, we don't. It's mostly because a lot of universities have their own little requirements, and just to ensure that we're not biased towards one HSI, we just say no in general. Sorry about that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Awesome. Well, that is, the time that we have for today. And I do want to thank you, Andres, for being here and partnering with us for this opportunity, this presentation for Internship Week. So thank you. If we can all get like a round of applause, digital round of applause here for Andres. And then also thanking our co-host, ENACTUS, and Isaac. Thank you for representing ENACTUS. As well as our partners at the College of Business and Entrepreneurship. So thank you so much, Nolan. I'm looking at you. So thank you all. But that is it for our presentation. I'm going to just remind everyone that if you have not checked in, please do so by clicking the link that I am about to put in the chat. And of course, Isaac has also shared some information on how you can get information on ENACTUS through their WhatsApp chat. So thank you again, Andres, your time and contribution. We appreciate it. Isaac, Nolan, thank all of you. And then you all are free to go. And then, I'm sorry, one more plug. If you were not able to see the entire presentation, we will have this presentation on the Career Center website under the Internship Week page. That'll be up early next week, and you all can have access to that. All right, that was my plug. So thank you again, everybody. You all have a great rest of the day.